Thank you.
Welcome.
Oh, hi, Paul, hi. Oh,
You can just put that on.
okay,
That'd be great.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, just right onto the. Yeah.
Yeah, see, like last time, yeah. Huh. Huh.
You got it.
Okay, here we go. There, there we go.
Yeah. Feel free to sit on the stool when you're ready.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I'm not working at the beef plant anymore. Oh, no. Oh, my situation was pretty bad. I got so much problems there, so many problems. Uh, First, I was living all my life in Mexico. I was working 20 years in my own store. I was selling beef. Uh, I was dreaming of coming to Canada, some better option for my family. Definitely Canada is like this. I find out looking at the information on the meat I was selling. I was selling meat from the JBS plant in my own store in Mexico. So I look at the package, I see the name in Brooks, went to the computer. So after, I don't know, 1.5 year, there was a job opportunity. And I answered that I could be interested. And they hired me. Emotionally, leaving my family was really hard. Really hard. I didn't tell anything to my kids. If I said I need to do this travel, they will say no, or why, or what happened. But I prefer to do it by this way because I don't want that difficult moment when you leave your people at the airport and everybody's crying. I want to avoid this hard time. So I remember my kids were going to a regular day at the school, so they was wearing the uniform and everything with their backpacks over their shoes. I say bye, regular, and my wife bring me to the airport. It was a really difficult day for me. I remember it was over 25 hours traveling together with 28 other men. We came in about midnight, 1 a.m. I don't remember. We only was really tired. Everybody hungry. I don't remember the people from the. Oh, I remember the people from the company. Stopped by the McDonald's about midnight. They give us 1 or 2 little hamburgers, 1 water bottle, and that's it. And they bring us, everybody, to the room they rent for us. On the inside of the room was a single bed, 1 towel, 1 cup, 1 glass, 1 spoon, 1 fork, and that's it. That's what you have. I remember when I came, I have only like $200 in my pocket. And so I start that Monday, and they need to wait 3 weeks after I was working. 3 weeks to get my first money. So we were living 3 guys in the same place, but they have a money too. I remember very well that the people was renting, or that the people who was renting, because we were living in a basement, the people was realizing that we were struggling. They sent us some pasta, and they give us a $50 card to buy some food, and they help us. What other way can we survive? The 3rd week, we have only ham, a little small package of ham, and 1 bread loaf for the whole week. Oh, this is a very difficult job, but I'm used to do some hard work all my life. But inside the plant is another history. It's even tougher than all experiences. My tasks essentially was to work first department. It's called breakdown. I'll move this. So essentially, breakdown is where the cows, the cows come from the cooler, and the carcass is hanging from the shank, and they're moving. So you need to cut. You need to cut the meat, and at the same time walking along. You are doing your process, or you're cutting, or everything while walking. So to do this job, you need to take the arm of the cow, separate or open from the carcass, put the knife inside, and after so many cuts, 25 or 28 cuts, you need to pull really strong from the carcass, the piece from the carcass, and then pull it hard and leave it hanging, but separate. But that's not the problem. The problem is you have only 20 seconds, and even though the time is short, you need to do perfect. And you need to do your walking in a bend position. So I'm a really tall guy. It was really difficult for me because I have some back issues in my low back area. I explained to my supervisor that I cannot do this job because I have some problems with my back. After that, she worried about me. She take me to the superintendent office and explained that I cannot do this job because I'm so tall guy. This is a small guy's job. Oh, you have problem in your back? I don't need you. Go back. I don't need you. They don't care. You know, they want to send me back to my country. Why do you have problems with your back and you come to Canada to work hard? So I explained, I can work hard. I can do another job, whatever you want, but none of it's bending too much. But you didn't say anything about the problems in your back. I did. So I remember they take the phone and call to the health department and they ask for the notes. Hey, give me the file for Ronaldo. I need to find out if it's true that he said he had some problems in his back. I remember I was waiting in the office about 2 or 3 hours, waiting for the note. They wanted to get me back to my country this day. Fire me. I feel really bad. I feel in my mind that I can come to this country looking for some opportunity, but they doesn't care. They don't care for the health of their people. So after a few hours, they find out I had said to the interviewer in Guadalajara in the hiring process that I had some problems in my back. They take a little mark. He has a back problem. He say, so what you're saying is true? Yes, what I'm saying is true. So he say, I cannot get you back to your country. Even though he want to, they realize they cannot. Instead, they change my job. They changed my job. Oh, it was level 1. But instead of 20 or 25 cuts for a level 1 job, it was only 3 cuts. But the difference is I need to do on every single cow passing by. So we were doing 2,000 cows in a shift. But one cow has 2 sides. So I need to cut 4,000 sides of cow in a shift. One, another, one, another, one, another for 4,000 times every day. But there was no bending, so that's okay. The problem is they were only paying me for a level 1 job. Less money because it's supposedly easier job. Wasn't enough. Wasn't enough because of one of my kids who got really sick at this time, was epilepsy. So I need to pay the doctor. The medicine was really expensive. I remember I take my check. My money was about $1,000 every 2 weeks. $1,000, I need to pay my room, I need to buy some food, and take all the rest to my family. It wasn't enough. I cannot afford to work a level 1 job. So I was asking, please give me the opportunity to do a level 5 job again. They told me, if you want to be a level 5, go back to your old job. And I said yes, even though I can get injured. So I get my orange job back. But we were working only 6 people. Well, when you are working with 8 people, you have enough time to do your piece, get your knife, sharpen your knife, and get the next one, the next one, the next one. But then with just 6, you cannot stop. Go, 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 go. And finally, I get injured. I got injured from my back, and this is the worst experience in my life. So when I get injured, my supervisor, he doesn't believe me. He started to yelling at me. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? Inside the plant, there are nurses that they can help you. but he doesn't want to write down on a little small paper that lets you go into the nurse department. I don't care. I go to the nurse. So I remember I was waiting about 5 or 6 hours in the nurse department. I tell the nurse, I'm feeling a big pain in my back. Where is your pink slip? Ask your supervisor for your paper. I ask him. Ask again. I cannot walk. And it was so much pain. It doesn't matter. They didn't do anything, but I cannot leave my plant because I know if I leave my job without permit, my plant, I get fired because I was abandoning my job. So I wait until my shift ends. I went to the hospital at emergency, and I was in the hospital for like 2 days. They give me many times, I don't know how many, strong morphine injection. And after a long process, I got surgery because it was necessary. I had my back surgery and then physiotherapy. And these 6 months were even worse than the previous months because I kept working. I was working on the level 2 job, but the problem was I was wearing a level 5 hat. My orange hat. So the superintendent, what is this guy doing this easy job, level 2 job, if he's a level 5 job? I am injured. I need to do some different job because the WCB sent me to do another job. Oh, he wanted me to quit. Was yelling me, insulting me. Shut up! I cannot say the words he called me. But he was telling me I was crying like a little girl because I cannot work hard anymore because I was a woman. Every single day, I remember he followed me. If I needed to go to the washroom, he followed me to the washroom. Followed me to the washroom to shame me. But I have my mind. I need to resist because I remember I'm in the permanent residence process. So if I decide to fight with this guy, I lose everything. I will lose everything. So I had permanent damage in one of my foots because I was getting an injury in my spine and one of my nerves coming down my leg. But yeah. I continue working there, and then because I was on WCB, so they took my case and they were taking care of me. After that injury, I got a different level of job, supposedly easier, but there is no easy job in there. I needed to be there because I wanted to get all the WCB case closed. I wait 1 year, 2 years, and in the 3rd year, they closed my case. And that December, I just quit. Oh, that was really kind of mixed feelings because I was working super hard every day. And then one day, the very last day, we were short people again. And they started to getting problem ahead of my line. And there was something happening. They stopped for 2 minutes or something. Then after the 2 minutes, they pushed all the beef, like tons of beef all together. And my boss was yelling and everybody yelling at everybody, yelling like, take every bloody pieces. You're not moving so fast. And I said, yes, I am. And he was mad and on top of me. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with you. Can we please go to our offices? And I went to Human Resources and asked for my green color paper. Now that paper is the one we need to quit. And we need to explain why we need to. And I say everything. What was happening and everything. So that day I feel like I was not being recognized. I'm thinking I have been here more than 6 years and they don't care. We're totally replaceable. And then they try nice. They say, no, you're not quitting, you're staying here. I say, no. It was like 9 a.m. and they give me like 1 hour to cool off or something. But I say, no, this is my last day. And I was so relieved and so happy when I walked out of that plant. Like a huge weight off my shoulder. Because I say I don't need to be suffering like this. In 2012, when I came here, they offered me a job contract. And they give me the opportunity to bring my family here and everything. I did work very hard, have permanent injury, and I also worked very hard to get all the paperwork and work for years to finally get our Canadian citizenship. Me and my family now, proudly Canadian citizenships. Everybody. Now I moved on. I left before COVID too, so yeah, it's good. Do you have a name for the play you're making? I like it. Yeah, I like it. Like we're supposed to be essential, but we were not essential before. You have to this situation for years, like how is that work condition inside of plants. But now I guess that's good. Yeah, I like it.
So the job has its hazards, right? And people get hurt, so we have to take care of that on a daily basis. My role at Cargill is an occupational health nurse, and basically every day we take care of our employees in terms of any acute injuries or chronic injuries that come on during the job, right? Yeah, that's mainly what we do, just take care of employees. I've been there a long time, and I mainly stay for the employees because they are really good people and I want to help them. And during this outbreak, we haven't really dealt as a community. We haven't dealt with something like this before. We're not prepared for something like this as a community, I think. So we try to respond as best we can. And I think that Cargill has tried really hard to respond accordingly, to take care of our employees, because we would never, like as a nurse, we would never put our people in danger, right? With the outbreak, we tried to make sure that we educated people. So, self-distance yourself from other people and wash your hands consistently. And then we gave the employees the face shields, and then they're wearing the medical, surgical gowns. And then there are the little barricades on the floor, in between the people on the floor. So even before the plant closed down, they had installed the cubicles at the library, like when you're studying? Yeah, they basically did that for every person. It's a lot of little cubicles on the floor. And we even had signs telling people, if you're sick, don't come to work. Call 811 or call the nurses, and then we would always tell them, we would always encourage them, call 811 to get tested. Yeah, and then we would follow up with them and kind of go from there. Before we shut down, we had our little isolation room. So let's say that somebody came in and said, I'm not feeling so well. Then we would give them a mask to protect the other people around, and then we would put on our own protective equipment. And then we would ask them to come in and wash their hands, and then we would take them into one of the isolation rooms so that we can assess them. So we can ask them questions like, when did you start feeling your symptoms? And then we would say, okay, well, you need to call 811 to get tested, and then we would tell them, you need to go home right away, right? When I go home, I'm also distancing myself from my family, like I'm not as close. like if I did get infected, I could infect my entire family. So I don't go out to see my parents because I could have it and I could give it to them. So I wasn't worried about myself because I know what I needed to do. But like I still kept those practices in place. So I felt safe. I felt much better for the employees too when I started giving them the face shields and the surgical masks, right? Yeah, it's much better for them. But then it's hard to say because when they go home, it's hard to know for sure what they're doing there.
I don't remember specifically because, when I work, I just work. I don't deal with anything, I just work. And two, we always wear earplugs because the plant is loud. So regarding COVID, actually, I don't remember when people started talking about it, but at some time, the government and people and everybody just start, hey, do this special social distancing. Social distancing at the plant is awkward. It's possible. If you're not on the station, it's possible, but it's up to you. It's up to you to eat or not, to avoid close contact to a person. But there are certain places that you cannot really avoid being close to the person. Because working at the plant, wherever plant, not only Cargill, but wherever plants, you're two people working with each other. So it's impossible to have social distancing in there. Our station is a conveyor line. The floor is designed and the distance is there for physical safety, like injury. So it's safe, but not for this COVID. At first, this is new. There's no barriers. No, they're not going, oh, we will rebuild this plant for social distancing. No. There is, because the virus, it just came in. But the plant has been here a long time, way before this. But then they tried their hard to make things right, like put some barriers. I don't know. I'm not really sure when this virus is unseen enemy. How can I protect everyone? Even the health workers, they know what they're doing. They know about this virus, but how many of them are infected too? So as for me, I'm like, I own myself. I bring my own sanitizer with me when I go to the locker room, wash my hands, and then I use my sanitizer aqua gel. And then when I hold my locker lock, I just spray it with my sanitizer before I open it. And then I never hold the door when inside the plant because of the, I think in my mind, maybe somebody is sneezing, holding their face, touching their face, or then touching the door. So I don't open the door. I just wait for somebody open the door, and then I hold, and then I run, and then I hold it with my feet, and then I go directly inside. I never touched the door since the virus came in. So regarding the distance, they do, but I don't know if they did it in the right time. I don't know.
So when that was happening at Cargill, JBS started to take some precautions, but they were still running. They're competitors, yeah? At the beginning, JBS, they want to sell more because Cargill's slowing down. And they're probably getting more sales, more beef requests from everywhere, and they can keep up. And just because the situations, they don't want to waste time. It's all about production while they can, no? Yeah. The situation is like, I know now, the beef prices went up and the cow prices were so low. They're paying so low for cows. The cow prices were like on the floor and the beef prices were in the sky. They're making so much money. And then they offer up more money for their workers, which is super weird or crazy, right? Because they're a super cheap company. So they offer an extra $2 an hour for the people who are continuing working. Give like a bone. So that the people, they're like, oh, I'll make an extra $200 or whatever, just from that one bonus. So that adds to everything getting worse, because then you have people who are trying to come to work when they're feeling bad, no? Feeling sick. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. If they have some small symptom, they can go up to the North Department. So you can say, oh, I'm not really feeling that well. And then they'll say, okay, you can go home, but you go home for 14 days and without pay. No? No. People, they cannot afford to be at home without pay. So they continue working. And some of them, they get that CERB money or the CERB while they're out waiting. So I know a friend, he's out for 6 weeks. He gets so bad, he almost died. So he get that government money. And the plant gives no support. No, they don't pay, they don't give a cent. Yeah. No, but they use the trying to be like, how do you say, the plant try to be saying, well, we are taking care of everybody. Our people is our most important asset. But it's a lie, because it's not true. And then they're putting ads in the newspaper, just here in Brooks, saying like, oh, we are so happy, we are helping each other, we are donating to the food bank, and whatever they do. They try to be buying with a little bit of money that we are a good company, we take care of our team members. But when they put that, everybody's laughing at them. But then you think of the people who aren't even in Brooks, or maybe they just see it online, and they think, oh, that's a good company. But it's not.
Yeah, that's my first job in Canada at Cargill. When I arrived here as a temporary worker, I'm permit resident since 2017, May 2017. I have 5 kids. Yeah, 4 are Filipino citizen and 1 Canadian. He's born here, the youngest one. So working in Cargill, because I know the Filipino culture, we have naturally Filipino is friendly and hospitable person. That's the nature of Filipino. So basically you have community in there inside. You enjoy, you have fun, and even how hard things is. Filipino deal just an easy way, because Filipinos used to have a hard life. the difficult life back home. But Filipinos survived. So that's why in here, Filipino has a community. Because when through times we've been tested and we've been helping each other, so we have a community. That day, that I already know that there's one. That's the first time that we hear that there's already an infected person in the plant. That's that I could remember that one because that's April 6th. In April 6th at night, I couldn't sleep thinking about it, and then. But I like to work because I have a good community in my workstation. I have friends there. I love my job. So yeah, my mind is just thinking about virus and thinking to do the job, because if I not go to the job, it'd be my coworker having a hard time missing one guy working that job. So I'm thinking that part. So I decided to go to work. But suddenly I feel heavy in myself. I just feel my body is just heavy. But I just think it also because I didn't have enough sleep that day. Because when you hear that somebody is already infected in the plant and then thinking that you're gonna work or not, I couldn't sleep. I sleep around 12 midnight, and then I wake up 5 o'clock and then was preparing to go to work, and suddenly I said I feel heavy. Aches. I just want to go back to sleep. That's the first time I feel it. So I tried to get the thermometer and put it in my body, and then suddenly I get fever. So I just immediately call in to inform my supervisor, then inform the plant. So did this, and they told me not to go to the plant because I have fever. So ever I isolate, ever since then, and since that day I didn't go into the plant. So yeah, it's very quick, and I don't know it, but how it only happens one time. April 6th, that there is an infected one, and then on April 7 I have fever, and then on April 20 I get tested. And April 23, the result came in, positive. And that's the time also my dad rushed into the hospital in ICU in April 24. My dad, the result came in positive also. So that's it. That is good that it's very quick. So I don't know how or why, how I got this, how it happens. I don't know much about how.
I've talked to a lot of people who were on isolation. When the plant closed down, the nurses were still working, the supervisors were still working, making sure that there's a plan in place, making sure that we are prepared for when we do open. So we were making wellness calls to the employees, making sure they're doing okay. And, a lot of people lived alone, and some of them didn't even know the plant was closed. Some of them have language barriers and lived alone. Some of them didn't even get testing. Yes. So they were having symptoms. They were staying home. Then we would call them and oh, I didn't know to get tested. And, oh, yes, you should call 811 to get tested, and then we'll follow up with you. That kind of thing. with our contact tracing, we would call an employee and have a set of questions, right? So we would ask them like, oh, do you carpool with anyone, or what are their names? And then we would call those people anybody that they lived with or carpooled with, right? So I think that we really came together as a community to make things happen, a protect one another kind of thing. There's a lot of factors there, and it has a lot to do with like, yeah, you know, I'm not going to lie to you, they are very close to one another when they're working. And as I've said, I mean, I'm not saying that everybody does it, but I've had to remind a lot of people about hand washing and social distancing. There's a lot of that. And yeah, the carpooling. I mean, you've read about it, I'm sure, in the media, about people carpooling and like living together. But that you can't blame them, because especially Filipinos, it's in our culture. I'm Filipino too. It's in our culture to live with grandma and mom and extended like family. So it's a shame that the media has blamed us for that. Yeah, and again, I think everybody has different perspectives on what's going on. I've seen different reactions to the outbreak. So there are some people who are so fearful. They don't even want to come to work, and I get that. I understand. And then you have some of the employees who are on the other end of the spectrum, who are like, I'm okay. Why are we doing all this extra stuff? I'm not worried about COVID, and all the people in between. So I think for Cargill, as one community in one building, there's a lot of different perspectives, different ways of thinking.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, not bad. Was just in my backyard doing some barbecue. Burgers. Same. You know that 80% of the people that work at Cargill are temporary foreign workers, and most are coming from the Philippines. Oh, it became so viral. Not only in the news, but within the community as well. There's an outbreak at Cargill for coronavirus. I'm part of an advocacy group for migrant workers. So I am deeply concerned for their condition. Knowing their precariousness and knowing their situation as a temporary foreign worker is really, really at stake, especially in this time of COVID. Knowing their precariousness, number one, being a temporary foreign worker, you are tied up to a single employer. So meaning these temporary foreign workers are tied up with Cargill. So even if they're suffering abuses or unfair labor practices, they can't even leave and find another job. Because if they do leave Cargill, then that means they are giving up their opportunity for permanent residency in Canada. And then eventually as a Canadian citizen, right? Number two, the working conditions. So like when I talk to them, it's just like the measures that the company took to stop the spread of coronavirus was not enough to secure their safety. So because like they're doing the jobs the dirty jobs that Canadians don't want. Canadians wouldn't take that. So they offer it to migrant workers. That is why 80% of the workforce at Cargill is temporary foreign worker. What's in their mind is that they have to be good. They have to work all the time, because if they don't, it will affect their permanent residency application.
I'm working on the kill floor, so every second counts. it's really hard. I'm almost 1 year here, and the work is not really easy. You're working on a chain, so you don't really rest. Even drinking for a water, it's very hard to leave your area because the cattle are coming. It's like that the escalator, same motion, same movement, right? You have to be quick, you have to be alert all the time. That's what I tell to my people in my country, that working here is quite different compared to the work that we have in the Philippines, times 5, times 6 harder. That is why I know the reason that the residents in this country don't want to work in that meat plant because of the hardship that they would really go through. So I stick the cattle. Sticking is to let the blood flow. So first, there are a lot of people already arranged for the stunning. Stunning, you know what it is? Stunning or kicking the head and make the cow unconscious. Then after the stunning, it will be hung and then move to the next line. That's the sticking portion. So I do the sticking to make sure the blood will really flow. Then after the sticking portion, it will be moved to the next line until the end. So that's the flow. So first shift, we slaughter 2,000 heads of cattle. So imagine the numbers. Yeah, the work that I have, the work is easy, but because the numbers is very tiring. Yeah, the work that I have, the work is just easy, but because of the numbers, for sure, not quite easy. In the Philippines, my experience is we slaughtering the animal from the start to the end. So here, it's quite different for it, because here I'm given the job that is just to stick. In the Philippines, we slaughter 5 to 10 cattle, sometimes 11 for a night. So it's not that really hard because you can pause for a while. You can rest, drink water, so it's different from here. Another difference also of the cattle here are like dinosaurs. They are very big, and each one's really so big, so that's a difference also.
If you have to say, choose your dad, I would again choose my dad. He is my model person. I mean, open, lovable, unconditional love of a person. And the love that you cannot dream up. That unconditional love. He never condemned people. He never condemned even when he's my model and my idealistic dad to me. Yes. When my brother and me, I said, when I talked with him, I said that if our dad wants us to follow him, we're gonna have a hard time to copy our dad because he's really amazing. He came to visit, that was the second time around. The first time is 2018, and then 2019, we go back to the Philippines for him. Yeah, we try and hard to apply for my dad to become a permanent resident because he wants to stay here with us because of my kids. He loves our kids. But unfortunately, we couldn't because, I'm the only one working. And my wife, she doesn't work because we have 5 kids. And enable us to sponsor for my dad, we need an income of at least 85,000 annually. So, and I have only 45, so I'm not qualified. So, and that's why we just invited him for the visit only. But he liked it. He wants to become a permanent resident. Unluckily, I'm not qualified to sponsor him. Yeah, my dad, he got a little bit, I keep asking him, I said, you have cough? No. And I don't know if that's a symptoms. He just complained to us that he really can't sleep and that he has constipation. He said he's just feeling homesick. He kept telling to my brother that my mom's telling him to be with my mom, that he says that she says, I'm here to get you. It's your time. So he keeps dreaming that every day. He told my younger brother that he never told me because he don't want me to worry about it. So we didn't see any symptoms like having cough or sore throat. Just like the emotional of my dad thinking about life.
I was one of the, what we call this one, infected. Actually, before I tested positive, we're afraid of going to work because of the virus. JBS is not actually forcing someone to do their duties, but really depends upon the employees. They are not forcing, but they are operating, so you choose. Before I tested positive, they forced us, or they provided for us the masks. They also do the temperature check before going to work, and that social distancing. Actually, they added more people to monitor the social distancing. So I think they are concerned for the employees in terms of that, but sad to say, I tested positive still. My cough is actually very bad. My breathing is also bad. I'm not breathing normally, and because of the cough, I cannot even talk straightly. So yeah, so I'm worrying about my life because I don't really want to die so early. Yeah, I'm 32. And then I'm also scared for the people in my house because we're four staying here. We're all Filipinos. They are my best mates since coming here in Canada. So I'm staying in my room, and every time I leave my room, I have fear. I am always telling them, you should have to sanitize, or you should have to clean the bathroom before you use it. None of them were positive. Only me, better. But they were also being asked to quarantine because I am positive. Yeah, and they're also not working because JBS and the Alberta Health Center, they would never allow them to work because of me. So after I was cleared by the Alberta Health Center, of course, I decided to go back to work right away because that's the only way I know how to provide for the needs of my family in the Philippines. And nowadays, a lot of people are already working, so yeah. I'm actually afraid of going to work because I don't really know if somebody is a carrier. But I have nothing to do but to work because that's the reason why I'm here. And if I don't work, I could never feed my family back home.
In the Filipino community, there is really an adverse effect, especially when they say in the report that the cause of the outbreak is because of their living condition. There is multiple people in a dwelling, carpooling, and then that really led into a backlash within the community towards because they thought the Filipino community was the source of the virus. But they're not looking why these workers are living in the same house, why they're carpooling to go to work together. You know, No, they're not looking at the worker's condition. So no one even bother looking at that, rather than just putting the blame on the entire community for the outbreak. So I think that's one of the impacts. You know, we are a victim of racial discrimination attached to coronavirus. You know your health benefit is tied up with your status, right? So if you lose status because of corona or because your work permit expired, and all the government offices, especially immigration offices, shut down, you can't even renew right away. So that goes your health care. So for example, the guy who lost it or his work permit expired, technically he is no longer eligible for health care or benefits because you have no status at that point, right? So who's going to risk their job just to be safe? So that's the issues that I'm telling you. The system is very problematic. That's what I'm saying is that the template for the temporary foreign worker program is very systemic, and that is why they need to look at it. The job that they offer to migrant workers, especially temporary foreign workers, it's been called essential services now. Like the plant itself feeds the entire, not only Alberta, the entire Canada, and yet the way that they are treated is not as essential workers. So I think there's the good and the bad side of the outbreak, because it shows the systems that are not working. It exposes the systems and what is important to us and what we consider essential, and yet we neglect them.
Back in the Philippines, the numbers are increasing. So they're still experiencing quarantine. So a lot of my folks, a lot of my friends, they're not working, they're staying at home. So I'm worrying for our friends and our families, especially for their income. Other organizations are helping Filipinos out there, but they're really experiencing hardship in terms of their food. So they have to go out. They need to, just to earn income, just for food. I am always supporting my parents, sending support to them, and sometimes also to my friends who are in need, but it's not that really much because I don't have that much income here. Just a little help because I know they need it. You know, at first I never told my parents about my situation. I never shared my problem with them so that they don't feel worried about my situation. My mom is very, emotional, so I keep it in. They only found out once I did the vlog about the virus that I am positive. They only know when I posted the video. My mom was shocked. Why you not tell us? We're your immediate family. So I told her that, like, in order for you not to worry about my situation, I should have to keep my mouth shut. So, yeah, but you know, I had already told them that I got life insurance. Yeah, so whatever happens, and I got this insurance, so I gave them the policy number so they can claim, and yeah, I did tell them that, at least.
So you prepare for ourselves that we cannot never see our dad. And that emotion across my it's really across my heart and my soul. like squeezing my heart. I couldn't think that this will be the last day that I'm gonna see my dad breathing and talking to us. So when he was in the ICU, we all had symptoms, so we're not allowed to come in. How can you imagine that happened to you if you are in my shoes? Someday somebody is calling you that you are positive in COVID, and then that afternoon your dad is being rushed into ICU and your family is showing symptoms. So I mean, if I was a weak person, I would have had a heart attack. But they allow us to have FaceTime with my dad. But sad to say, we cannot no longer have good communication with dad because he's been induced into coma. It's hardly. But at least the hospital, they do the best they can. We see our dad through video call by FaceTime. My dad will not respond, but I mean, the back of his mind, he can still hear. Before my dad passed away, he remained faithful to God. So the hospital have the resident priest. The priest offer him the anointing of the sick, the final prayer. And then we see my dad slowly giving up his body. Slowly we see him slowly losing his breath. We talk, and then the nurse is there, keep comforting us, keep comforting my dad, so that he will have a comfortable final rest. And my dad, before this, he always says, that when the time comes, he is prepared to join my mom. My mom is waiting for him. And the time he passed away is May 5 here, but it's already May 6 in the Philippines. May 6 in the Philippines, this was the birthday of my mom. So that's why somehow it made us comfort to ease our pain and sorrow, because we believe that he's in the right land now.
You know, it's so hard. Like, as a community organizer, it's so hard when people are treated as disposable. If someone died, we can replace them with 10 or more. But that is not the case. These are workers. These are workers that we invited to come and work. So just like any other Canadian, they should be protected. Do we see them like they steal our jobs? Do they not contribute to the economy? So that is the bigger question that I sometimes I look at. And for me personally, I experienced it as well as a migrant worker. All of these reasons why these migrant workers come here, it's because we're told we need Canada. We need Cargill. We need this kind of work. But it's on both sides. You need us. So there should be a mutual understanding that you need us and we need you.
I never dreamed to become butcher in my life, because butcher in my country is a low-profile job. I did study philosophy at school first. Studying philosophy actually helped me to become mature. Nowadays, a lot of people are in their right age, but they are not mature enough for facing the realities of life. They're not mature enough. They're not mature enough to feel the decisions in life. For me, it was really a great contribution, my experience in my studies, because it kept me going, keep me moving, and I can always find a purpose for why I am here. And the only purpose that I see is to help my family for the betterment of their, for the betterment of their living. I want my parents to experience the luxury, not luxury, but it's to not feel the hardship of the day-to-day consumption, to uplift them from poverty. That's my purpose. It's the golden rule. Plato and Confucius and the other philosophers say do unto others, but don't want others do. What I mean is, in order to be peace, to have peace of mind, in order to be, you should not do unto your fellow man that you don't want them to do in return to you. I don't think you understand what I mean. You understand?
Okay. Whenever you're ready, Cole.
Okay, I'm ready. Let me know when I'm on.
Oh yeah, you're on. You
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome. Thank you so much. This is us. We're the team that put together the essentials. I'm a little overwhelmed, and I'm just so excited for what's happening and for you to be here for this little chat that we're going to have. We've had so many talks this week about the nature of liveness, and one of the things that we love about theater and that we still wanted to try to capture in one way or another tonight was a chance to meet the audience afterwards, after this performance. So I'm gonna just quickly introduce ourselves and say a couple of thanks, and that's a great time for you to take a second and share in the chat any questions you have for us, or even better, just responses. Just a response or a reflection, a thought or a comment that you have about the stories that you saw or the way that we shared them. So why don't we just quickly introduce ourselves? My name's Cole Shaky. I'm the writer and co-director.
I'm Mike. I'm just laughing because my partner just sent me a text that said, "Did your mom just give like an emoji finger in the chat?" And I think she did by accident. Thanks, Mom.
So this is Mike.
Hi, thanks. Great. My name's Kiana Wu, performer.
Hi, my name is Noriko Marumo, and I'm the operator. So I was the one just switching the videos during this lovely piece. And I'll point to the computer because there's our last.
The human in there.
That's you,
That's
Thomas.
enough to Thomas.
Hi. Okay. Hi. I'm Thomas. I'm sort of been doing a lot of the running of the show. So hi.
Yeah, and the other team member who is not here right now with us is our wonderful dramaturg and just general creative moral support awesome person, Miyako Ochi, who's been chatting in the window, so I know she's watching. So hi, Miyako.
Hi, Miyako.
Thank you.
Just really quickly, I just want to share a couple of acknowledgements and thank yous. First, to acknowledge that this performance here tonight and all of the stories that we heard took place on Treaty 7 land. I want to thank a few folks. First off, Cesar Cala, who is this wonderful community organizer in Calgary and in the Filipino community and beyond, was the first person I called kind of at the beginning of the pandemic when the news of the outbreaks hit. And he has been a wonderful encouragement and an envoy into communities. And more broadly, I want to thank the Essential Workers Task Force that's been organized by Action Dignity, who's been incredibly supportive of myself in this project, and just want to thank them publicly for the amazing work that they're doing directly supporting people that need it. And we should thank the funders and sponsors of this project, the Rosé Foundation, the Calgary Arts Development, and the Canada Council, and amongst the other wonderful things that financial support brings. It also means that we didn't have to ask for any money to perform this for you. And so if you would like to pay that forward and show your support, we're collecting donations on behalf of Migrante, Alberta, which is a really powerful and powerfully important advocacy group of community organizers who are directly supporting the workers and the communities of the folks that you heard from tonight. Maybe I'll find a way to put it in the chat somehow, but also just fieldworkstories.com is the website of Fieldwork, fieldworkstories.com, and there's a donate button. We're going to collect donations and share that directly with Migrante Alberta. So please feel free to click through that donation link when you have a sec. And that's all the preamble. That's all the thank yous and acknowledgements. Oh, but just that was the thing I was thinking of saying is the most important thank you goes to the people that sat on the phone or video chats with me and shared their stories. As you saw, really vulnerably at times and really openly. It's an astounding gift that they've given us all. So thank you, because I know that some of them are watching right now. So thank you for agreeing to be interviewed and chat with me.
Salamat!
Yeah, so a couple of questions in the chat that I'll go through. Michelle Brandenburg asks, says, thank you so much. How did you find the employees you spoke with? I would love to know, oh, I'm fiddling with my mic, sorry. I would love to know about the initial project stages and what inspired you to share their stories. Yes, so the inspiration came from, for actually a number of years, I've been working as a documentary theater person on a similar project that for the last 5 years or so, I've been talking to people from Brooks, largely guys who work at the JBS plant, but people in the Brooks community more generally about the temporary foreign worker program, big questions about labor and immigration and citizenship, and how 15 years of a big influx of newcomers to work at the plant has really changed the face of that small prairie city. So for a while, I've been quite interested in and emotionally invested in meatpacking plants in Alberta and the people that work there. And so when these outbreaks happened, and at the same time, that project had been generally put on hold like all other theater projects at the time. And so that was the first impulse. And then I called Cesar Cala, and was like, I would love to do some storytelling around what's happening. Do you think that would be appropriate? And he was encouraging of it. So to meet people, it's a lot of different avenues. And Cesar introduced me to some folks through personal relationships. Sometimes I reached back out to folks that I had been talking to at JBS previously. One of the people, the fellow that Keanu plays in the final section, has a really awesome YouTube channel that in Tagalog, he gives these great YouTube videos about how, just giving advice and sharing his experience of immigrating to Canada through the temporary foreign worker program to support or provide information to folks back home in the Philippines. So through some Google rabbit holes, I found his YouTube channel and reached out to him that way. So yeah, they all came through a bunch of different avenues like that. Danielle asks, so did you do the interviews verbatim with the interviews playing in the earphones? That's a good question.
Do you want me?
Yeah, Thomas, please.
So the earbuds in the ears was actually that what we were doing through cameras, live stream, and like recording simultaneously. So, but because we were in different rooms, we wanted the actors to still be able to hear each other. So it's actually an in-ear monitor. So we sent a feed from the labs through all of our sound equipment and then back to the actors, so each actor could hear each other. So that way we knew when we cut to cameras, everyone was on the same page, essentially. Yeah, so we didn't have anyone talking back to us except for just literally hearing each other.
Another question is, how much of the acting choices in the piece are documentarian in the sense that they were directly lifted from the emotions, reactions of the interviewees' interviews? Mike, Keanu, Mike, why don't you start with and generally the acting experience of playing these real people with their real words?
Yeah. Yeah, so Cole, through his interviews, recorded his interviews. So we actually had audio references of the real people that Cole was speaking to. So we each, Thomas, Kiana, and I all had an audio reference of how the eventually the person in the story in the essentials spoke, and it was just kind of like really listening to the cadence and trying to listen for emotion, and kind of just we talked about like embodiment through dialect and accent, and we came to the decision that it seemed appropriate to embody that in the characters so that we have a real sense of hearing people that you wouldn't normally hear or accents you wouldn't normally hear. So that was really incredible to hear the real people just so beautifully tell their stories, and to have that generosity to share that with us and then eventually you. But yeah, so for myself personally, I'm Filipino, so I grew up hearing that accent all my life. So that part was actually like, pretty simple and easy. I just thought of family members really. And then for the first character of Ronaldo from Guadalajara, I had that audio reference, and it was kind of trying to find where it lives in my mouth and that shape, and really trying to get really specific with vowel sounds, and then having that embodied. And then also in the text, he says he's a very tall guy, and you could hear it in his voice in the audio reference. He's got a really beautiful, deep, round voice, and that was really interesting to hold on to as far as embodying a sense of size. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so I guess all the other stuff was just, dealer's choice, actor's choice to try to find, and primarily find the story, find the arc of what these real people are trying to get across, so that they can reach us and you. Yeah.
Kiana, what was your acting experience like?
It kind of happened in the opposite way of which Mike just explained. So for me, where I started was with these ideas and these experiences that the whole script discusses, that these people discuss, are epic. They're huge. It's just it's a huge. It's the capacity for humanity is so big, and so I felt overwhelmed by how much there was to capture. So like really taking the idea by idea, thought by thought, was where I started. So I didn't refer to the audio right away. So in that way of the question, it was a step away from the documentarian aspect. Yeah, I wanted to personalize it for myself first, and then go back to the audio and get more specific. So after learning the words, after getting a handle on what was being said, I was able to get more specific with sound, in terms of accent, in terms of listening more to these people and seeing how I could embody them vocally, mostly. Yeah. So that's my thought. It was a step away from the documentarian real people, but to infuse that was absolutely necessary, I think. Yeah.
Mark asks, hi pals, have you ever thought about this, or for future editions, about doing first language interviews rather than English? Yes. It's been with someone from Migrante, Alberta today about doing some storytelling work, and in particular, I think it asks really good questions about intended audience, and we're imagining some ideal scenarios that have essentially multilingual performances in one performance, where individual audience members would be able to experience the show in their language of choice, with admittedly a limited choice, but some choice. But I think the bigger question, or the bigger thing for me, is recognizing that in the interviews where we're talking about these really intense experiences and these often very deeply personal moments that because of like my language limitations, because I only speak English, that they're being required to share these really personal moments and memories and reflections and asking often like quite philosophical questions like about the meaning of life and suffering. But they have to answer those questions in English, which may not be the language that they're most comfortable at exploring these really challenging questions. And so I find that to be a deficit in the system that I set up as the English interviewee. So yeah, these are really, I think, good questions and ones that we'll keep trying to wrap our arms around.
May I tack on to that?
Yeah.
I think what's a huge benefit of doing this show in other languages and to honor these lived experiences of the participants, of the interviewees, is that these other languages can capture sentiments and the size of ideas that English is unable to express. So there's a huge benefit in that. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe we'll do a couple more questions. Yeah, Mike, you got?
Yeah, there's
a
question here from Reese. Would you remount this piece in a more traditional theater setting, or do you view this as a piece that should be presented more in the video/film medium? And maybe that's a question for yourself or Thomas, as far as like, we put it in a theater.
Yeah, I think this is a kind of iteration, like a version of this story that will have other versions, in part because I keep hoping to collect more interviews. But I also have, like I mentioned before, this other kind of pre-existing piece that's very related, but you know, so I have a verbatim text play about meatpacking plants largely in Alberta, and that play ends before COVID. And so there's questions of like how does what has happened and what we heard in this piece change the relevance of that? And so what is the future version of both of those stories combining? But I do think that whenever possible and in whatever way possible, I do want to share these stories in a room with a bunch of people. But yeah, what that looks like and how strictly live theater it is versus different combinations of theater and video is, again, a really interesting question. There's a really good question, not that other questions aren't all great. I'm not picking favorites, but
can I read it
from Jordan?
Yeah.
Please.
Hi, Jordan. Thanks for tuning in. That sounds so YouTube-y. Quickly, I could answer Rebecca Reed. Thank you for tuning in also. But did any of the individuals whose stories shared tonight watch this performance? And the answer is yes. But I will ask Jordan's question now. And I will do a word for it. I put this question delicately because I know how invested the Filipinx community has been in this project, but I would love to hear more about the consideration of racial equity in this production. As a writer and director, what was Cole's thought process about his own positionality in creating this piece? Not a critique per se, I know this is a complex conversation and it is a powerful piece.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. I think it's a really important question to pose. Because I feel, I now feel comfortable with my role in not just being part of this project, but in many ways, like by initiating it as a bit of a de facto being in, if there is a point where the power stops, it's with the position I have as a writer, director, and producer, including one of the biggest ones is I had the power of building the team. And so that's really significant. But I think in terms of, so I feel comfortable for a few reasons. One is because before starting, I had some conversations with folks who were very invested in and leaders in the Filipino community and the labor movement community, and getting their blessing, honestly, in a way, and their support was a kind of personal requirement to start. And then the working relationship we have, where I feel like I've had very honest and good collaboration with all of these artists who have different positions of mine, and that as much as we can to flatten out the power hierarchies in the process. But you can only flatten those hierarchies so much, because ultimately, yeah, like I hired, I guess, like that's uncomfortable, but like I'm there's one white person in the project, and he hired everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's like literally what it is. And so it's not, it's yeah, you can see I don't have settled feelings about it, but right now I do feel okay about it. But this is I love this question about like my role in particular, or like this setup of this in particular, or the bigger questions about this question.
Yeah, actually, I'm curious about hearing from Noriko, if you're okay with that, or Thomas. Thomas, who's at home taking care of the stream, is also the co-director of this piece. If you wouldn't mind speaking about it a bit, Thomas, if you're into it.
Yeah, sure. I know when Cole and I first started talking about this, actually, my primary role was to come on as like a designer, come on and talk about video streaming, that kind of stuff, the thing I'm kind of doing right now. But then we developed our conversations and the way we wanted to work. And I brought my skills and learnings from film and television and my time creating film. Because now, you know, theater is combating literally with television, film in the digital medium. So we really moved into that. And then we just kind of ended up really like sharing. And like, it's funny, it's like I wouldn't, like this entire team like shared together in the creation because it's a lot of new territory for everyone. And yeah, and like I'm half Filipino, for also just saying. So we really also just like, I don't know, shared in trying to be honest and respectful also just of the stories that we were given to share. So, yeah.
Did you have a thought you wanted to share? If you want, it's not.
Well, I came in later in the project, so it's sort of a tech thing. Be like, okay, let's do this. So in terms of the creative aspect, I probably didn't have much to contribute other than camera. So yeah, I don't really have much thought. So, but I do appreciate that we're able to tell these stories. So, because normally you wouldn't hear these stories on like a main stage or anything. So even in this context, it's just great to get these stories out because they mean so much to so many people. So
I think your presence is a contribution.
Oh, gee. I'm not used to being in front of the camera. I'm like the blobfish in the deep sea there. That's my comfort zone, being in the dark. So coming into the surface is like the surface is in front of the camera or on stage. So it's like visible technicians are never visible. So it's like,
it's an interesting question. When we talk about racial equity in this production, I think if we have to acknowledge that I mean, I am not Filipina. I am mixed Asian, I'm mixed Taiwanese. But then even in our cohort here, I think that there is a lack of diversity in the Asian diaspora in terms of what we represent. Like, I'm mixed, you're mixed, Thomas is mixed. And then it's white led, or what, not white led, because it truly, like, throughout this process has felt collaborative, and like everyone has taken on, or I feel like everyone has created their own role in terms of like what our skill set is. We were able to come in and work the highlights of our skill set, and that was a meaningful contribution to make this. So in that way, I would say that, yeah, it was co-led. And even over the last couple of months, we've been reading some drafts and giving feedback. So our input was taken during the script development. Yeah, that's my thought, I think, on that question. I will also say that it was interesting to know that some of these participants, some of these people, I mean, they're from Mexico, Colombia, they're from everywhere. And yeah, we can't not say that it's not. Yeah. I mean, early this week, I will pass it on to you soon. It's so weird not having you here. Earlier this week, Mike and I were talking about how both of our fathers worked in meat plants in southern Alberta when we were growing up, and talking about that experience. So yeah, there are pieces that resonate. For me, in the character of Catherine, the occupational health nurse, she's first generation. She I think I relate to her a lot in terms of her experience and the way that she is. So I think it's partly your job as an actor to like connect to the things that you really, and you see, and where those gaps are in terms of understanding or lived experience, like fill those gaps with first like respect and acknowledging what's already happening in yourself and what's not. And I know for myself, there were individual and collective conversations about how to do that in a way that felt good. Yeah. Thomas, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer that, like, it's in regards to like, it's not just Asians who are part of this story. It's interesting to think about just in the context of what we did for everyone who watched, that like, it's a few of us trying to tell a very large story and multiple stories. And so like, I hope, and I'm curious to see in the chat if there's agreement, but that the suspension of disbelief in that what we expect or give to like performative art and theater, for example, as opposed to film and video, because like if this was like millions of dollars, like there'd be like a separate person for every person. But I just offer that too, is that that's part of the magic, at least in why I love this. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's 8:45, so I think we'll wrap up the Q&A section. Thank you again for all the questions. There's some more questions in there that we'll answer via chat. But thank you all so much for these thoughts and comments. So the video is going to exist now and is freely shareable. And we are very now very attached to these stories and to the people that shared them, and would love to have their stories shared far and wide. And so once the link is up, please do, if there's people in your life that you think would also enjoy it or get something out of it, it would be great for you to share it. Thank you all so much. Any last shout outs, thoughts, words, team?
Yeah, I'm just, as far as, Cole and I have known each other a very, very long time. And the first piece, verbatim piece that I know of Cole's 2015 called The Temporary, also talked about meat plants, and both my parents worked at Cargill in High River and thankfully aren't there anymore. But, and this piece has been really special to me as far as it being an intersection of especially right now with COVID and that outbreak of just workers, like the intersection is of worker rights, race, consumption of meat and what is deemed essential, and just the value of life, whether it's animal or non-human animals and human animals. And I just, with this story being out there now, I just encourage you to kind of think about what does that mean, and what does that kind of life mean? What and how do we interact with that on a daily basis? Yeah, that's all. I just wanted to just bring it all back into that, because that's part of one of the biggest reasons for taking this piece on, because I trust Cole, but I also, this story is so specifically feels like I feel like I've been primed for a very long time to tell this. So to be able to do it in this pretty exceptional time of the intersection of a global pandemic, along with Black Lives Matter, and to just really reassess how we move through the world and our relationships with production, exploitation, and hopefully just a revisiting of empathy and care towards human and non-human animals. That's all.
Thanks,
Thanks.
The amount of conversations we've had about meat production this week there's so many, and I learned so much. What I hope that we're capable of doing after watching a piece like this is that we're able to stretch our compassion, and that we're able to show up in the world with these people in mind, these stories in mind, because this is not Alberta specific. This is not Canada specific. This is something that's happening all over. And the things that we do every single day in terms of mitigation are for people like nurses, for people who have been essential for the last months that we don't see, that we don't know. And I hope that we can continue to show up with absolute compassion for humanity. That's it. That's it. Thomas?
Okay. With that, thank you everyone for coming, watching, sharing. As Cole said, share. And we wish you a very good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Mm.